All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming today. We have a great set of alumni panelists here, and they will be sharing their experiences and answering your questions on the topic of data science and analytics. So as we go through this presentation, please feel free to type in your questions in the chat or use the raise hand feature. We'll actually get started out by asking each of the alumni to give us a brief 3 to 5 minute overview of their career path and their current role. And then we'll be breaking up into 2 different breakout rooms. And students, you can ask your questions to the alumni in those respective breakout rooms. So we'll get started by asking the alumni to give us a brief overview. And I will call on the alumni in alphabetical order, so you'll know when to give your introduction. All right, so Pitt, would you be able to go first?
Sure. So hi, everybody. My name is Pitt Fagan. My current role is a senior data scientist at Zendesk. Zendesk is a Silicon Valley SaaS company focusing on customer support sales software. I'm an alumnus of UW-Madison. I came to UW to go to graduate school. This is back in 1996, so I've been in industry for a while. I came to UW to study soil science. Actually, I studied geology as an undergraduate. And in my first semester in graduate school, I had to take a statistics class, which I'd never taken before. And I really liked statistics. Didn't know I was going to, and picked up stats as a second degree. And my research in soil science was very sort of statistics heavy and statistically focused. So I got out of graduate school. I worked for the from the US Geological Survey for the federal government. Didn't really like working for the federal government particularly. So kind of pivoted and got a job doing software work, so doing backend database work. And then data has been a focus of my career. It's like a through line of my career. I've either been doing software development as a DBA, as a team lead, as a data analyst, and as a data scientist. Sort of that's the general progression, if you will, of my career. So I've been at Zendesk for almost 5 years now. Started in data analytics, and then after a year switched into a data science focus. I also run the Big Data Madison meetup, which has been a bit dormant with the pandemic, but has been around for over 8 years. And we've had 100 meetups, I think. So I've been running that for quite some time. I think that's it for me. Oh, what am I focusing on now? Sorry. So I was focusing on doing customer modeling, customer behavior modeling. And for the last 10 months, I'm switched into engineering, and I've been doing a lot of cloud cost and usage modeling. So a lot of financial modeling, a lot of usage modeling in the kind of cloud space, so AWS, Google Cloud, and Datadog. Now I think that's it. Sorry.
Thank you, Pitt. All right, Damian, would you be able to go next?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Damian Johnson. Way back when I was in school, I had dreams of being a lawyer. One of my first jobs outside of school was working under a lawyer who had a consulting firm. He did accounting, he did management consulting, he was a lawyer, he did everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work under him and become this great lawyer. But after a few months working there, he said, no, Damian, you're much better working with data. He was like, you need to give up this dream of being a lawyer. So that kind of set me on the path of data. I think this is my 4th role in data. I started off just doing data cleansing for pre-sales work with a company actually in Milwaukee, Rockwell Automation. I then moved to more data analysis with Career Builder, doing reporting for, say you were opening a hospital, you wanted to know how many nurses were looking for work in Houston. I could create a report for you, make it pretty. I then got into more data engineering, like improving business processes by finding gaps in sales and sales opportunity for clients. And now I'm working with Jones Lang LaSalle and their infrastructure group. So I get to work with tons of data related to, employees, finances, how much we're spending here, there, who's spending too much money, who's streaming Netflix while they're working. So I get to look at a lot of different data and I really enjoy it. So as my path has kind of been non-traditional because I didn't go to UW to study data. Like I haven't really worked on data teams. So I've learned a lot through trial and error. So I'll be happy to answer any questions from any of you or what I think I did right, what I would do differently if I could go back. So I'm happy to be a part of this panel.
Thank you, Damian. Justin, would you go next?
Hi, my name's Justin Martin. Let's see, I think 2008 was my final year at La Follette. And I was really kind of looking to stay sort of local government, state government type policy work. And my entrance into data work I think mirrors a lot of what it sounds very familiar. What Damian was recounting. I avoided data tech fields. It wasn't what I thought I wanted to be in. I work now in the state division of public health. So you'll see I still have my mask on. I decided to just extend my day rather than try and do this with kids around me at home. So I'm still in the office. But I started out of La Follette, really envisioning myself to be kind of the watchdog, the auditor, and so I went straight into the legislative audit bureau when I really thought that's where I was going to be doing my my good works, and I wanted to be the nonpartisan good government type of person, and really found that for all its good intentions, outside forces really can weigh on that, and I found myself really burned out really quickly. But with my experience, I had done some audits of the state medical assistance programs, which included Medicaid, and was looking to get out of the public sector around the time of the 2010-2011 election and subsequent protests and so on. And so I ended up with what was then known as HP. Has gone through a number of different name changes. It's the computer company, but there was an offshoot. HP Enterprise Services is now known as Gainwell, and they are the tech contractor for the state Medicaid program. When I joined them, I knew next to nothing about report building, querying, anything like that, and really learned on the fly and found my niche. And I've been through a number of positions since then. But in my time there, I really found that I liked using what I found to be my strongest skill set in providing good information to policymakers, and wanted to maybe get on the other side of the firewall. I found that if we could get more information and merge it together, we could do even more. But all the other information was behind the public health firewall. So fast forward to a couple different jobs later, and there was this position opening up in the Division of Public Health where they wanted somebody with Medicaid experience who could link data sets. And here I was, and it's turned out to be one of the coolest jobs that I could have imagined. I really do get to do exactly what I hoped I would be doing, and pulling together data sets from throughout the division, really informing good policy, I hope. And it's exciting, it's demanding, and I feel like I'm doing good work. And it's not where I thought I would be, and but I really enjoy it.
Thank you, Justin. Shushan, would you go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone, my name is Shushan and I just graduated from UW-Madison last year in May. And I majored in statistics and have a minor in business. So when I was in a junior year at UW-Madison, I really I was attracted by consulting industry and I really want to get a job in consulting. So I first got my first internship at Accenture, but soon I realized some general business consulting wasn't a type of thing I really enjoyed. It's like there are so many vague issues that I cannot dealing with, and I feel like I'm more attracted by dealing with some math work. So then I switched back to finding internships and jobs about either data analytics or data science. So that's a part of before my data science journey, I tried something different. And then after I went to a data analytics internship at the University of Wisconsin Foundation, I soon realized that's something really fits my personal interest. I really enjoyed collaborating with different experts in either marketing team, data engineering, or some other business field, and support them with my quantitative analysis. To briefly just to explain what I did as a data analytics intern, I supported UW-Madison with some fundraising analysis, such as revealing some prediction models to help the marketing team to prioritize their constituents so they can better reach out to our alumni for fundraising. And for some others, such as just building some scorecard to categorize some constituents, just something like that. I really enjoy to apply what I've learned from school and contribute to give back to the school. That's something I found it is really rewarding in the data science industry, which is you can see what you've contributed, what you've done, they're making difference. And as for the other part of myself, I think I had a slightly different personal background compared to other guests today. I'm still a second-year master's student at New York University at the Center for Data Science. So I'm still on the early stage about my career path, but I would like to share more about my personal thoughts about how or why I'm choosing like going to grad school instead of just going to the industry directly, or if you have any question about how you're making choices or applying for grad school, I would be happy to answer questions like that. Yeah, that's about me.
Thank you, Shushan. Dave, would you like to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. Good evening. Dave Summers. I have been in the analytics data world for about 11 years since graduating in 2010. I was in the CAR program, the concentration in analysis and research within the sociology department. I've been a little bit all over as far as how to apply data and modeling. I started my career in Milwaukee at Johnson Controls, large manufacturing company, big employer in the state. I jumped around to a few different roles there, first starting in the sustainability space, measuring the environmental metrics for our global manufacturing facilities. I then moved on to more of a sales focused role, working with account managers and sales leadership to make sure their data and analytics needs were met. I then led marketing analytics for our global products group for a little bit, doing a lot of the predictive modeling and dashboard and reporting for our campaign managers and our marketing leadership team. I jumped over to a food and beverage company called Carey, based out of my hometown of Beloit, where I made a little bit of a transition into workforce analytics, where my main stakeholders were human resources department, HR business partners, and really the broader business, but also worked a lot in the DEI space, talent acquisition, mainly focused on how to improve overall employee engagement, employee processes, managing predictive modeling around flight risks of employees, turnovers, retention, things like that. In my current role, I actually lead a small team of IO psychologists and data scientists in workforce reporting and analytics. We manage large-scale projects like employee surveys, employee listening, strategic workforce planning, predictive modeling, a lot of the things related to workforce and HR data. So been a little bit all over, but have found a little bit of a home in HR and workforce and really enjoy what I do today. In the middle of all that, I did go back and get my master's part-time from Northwestern in predictive analytics. God, it's been 6 or 7 years now. So yeah, really excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dave. Wenji, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Wenji Wang, and I graduate. I'm currently a data engineer at AWS. I earned my bachelor degree with majors in statistics and economics in UW-Madison in December 2019, like 2 years ago, so pretty recent graduate. And while at college, I was a researcher intern at Epistemic Analytics Lab. It's under the Department of Educational Psychology. And I was also the VP for Undergrad Statistics Club. And post-graduation, I worked at a financial organization in East Coast in Maryland called FINRA for over a year before I joined AWS as a data engineer in June this year, 2021. Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have. Oh, and part of my day-to-day as a data engineer at AWS involves a lot of data warehousing, data modeling, and ETL design. And I do use a lot of big data technology, like mainly AWS services, but also like Spark, Hive, Hadoop, something like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Wenji. Allison, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name's Allison Weber. I'm a senior genomics data scientist at Bayer Crop Science. I got my undergrad in chemical engineering at University of Iowa. I was the last class they taught Fortran to, so that kind of dates me, but that was the start of a long career I was slightly interested in computer science, but mostly I was driven by a question. In undergrad, I got a job in a human genetics lab, and I fell in love with genetics and being able to predict phenotype or the traits you see of an organism based on its genomic sequence. So that led me to University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I did a PhD with John Dobley. So those of you who take a genetics class when you're at Wisconsin might run into him. And then I started getting into quantitative and statistical genetics. I also worked with Brian Yandel, who I think is still involved a lot with data science at Wisconsin. And then I went on to postdoc with Trudy McKay, who wrote the book on statistical genetics. That was exciting. And I went on to work at Syngenta in North Carolina. So that was basically at that time, we were using a lot of SAS, we were using a lot of Perl, and we were still on servers. And then about 5 years ago, my husband and I had the opportunity to come back home to the Midwest because his job, he was at a startup that got, that Monsanto bought. And so he had an opportunity to come here, and I looked into it. And one thing that really helped me make the decision was I felt like my technical skill set was sort of getting old, and I wanted to update my data science skill set specifically. And I knew that Monsanto at the time really pushes that. So I took a role at Monsanto, and there I was able to switch to Python. I switched to R. We do all of our computing on the cloud. So it was sort of a baptism by fire with learning AWS and Dockers and all that, but it was exactly what I needed. And now then we merged with Bayer, which has been a real positive experience. And what's really cool is I still get to work on the question I love, which is how does genomics drive phenotype? But I also get to work with the you know, the folks that are leading the data science industry. We've partnered, I've got to work with AWS engineers, and I've even been a little excited when I broke some of their services, like step functions. And then they worked with us to get it to fit the analytics needs. So usually my role is I'm developing the analytics, and then I work with the engineers that figure out how to scale it in a costly way. And then we not only work with Amazon, but now we're also working with Google. And so now my work has become a lot better because we have a data warehouse and BigQuery, which I love. So yeah, I really love data science because it's allowed me to ask the questions I want to ask with the amount of data I want to ask it with. So yeah, I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Allison. So those were all of our alumni and their introductions. So now we're going to be breaking up into breakout rooms. Damian, Wenji, and Dave will be in one of the breakout rooms, and the other 4 alumni will remain in the main room. And students, you'll also be randomly split up into these 2 rooms. But if you really want to hear from a particular alumni who is not in the room that you are assigned to, you will also be able to shift from room to room. So that's where students, you'll be able to ask your questions and just ask more about each alumni that you want to hear from. So, all right, Mike will actually be launching those rooms right now. All right, so this is the main room. Here we have Shushan, Allison, Pitt, and Justin. So students, if you have any questions, you can just put them in the chat and I can read them out, or also feel free to unmute yourself and just ask those questions directly if you want as well. So students, you can go ahead and ask your questions. To start us off, I can ask a question. So alumni, what advice would you have for students who want to go into this field? And what should students be doing to prepare themselves to be successful in statistics and data science?
I can start, I guess. One thing is I would say, you know, keep your technical skills up to date. But more importantly, I would say that one thing that's been a pattern in my career is think about, it's very, I've always had better success when I focus on the question and I look at the data. Sometimes I think in data science, there's sort of a romance of, oh, there's a new AI algorithm, or there's a new machine learning algorithm, and I'll just use that. But usually when we've had truly good insights, it's when we think about the data and the specific problem and the right algorithm to fit it. And sometimes it is AI and sometimes it's not. And so I would just encourage you to always think critically about the question you're trying to solve.
Yeah, so I really agree with Allison to talk about always keep your skills updated. So for me, I just prefer to read a lot of blog posts and to get some newsletters to just get myself updated, to know what are the new techniques in data science. And I feel like that would be really helpful to keep myself open-minded. Just like when you have some new issues you never seen before, you probably just came up with an idea like, wait, I've seen this kind of issue before, like on the newsletter, I can probably try this new technique. And that's a really cool experience, feels like, when you can try something really new on the project you are having right now. So that's a piece of advice from me.
I would agree. I feel like back when I was in grad school, it felt like there was a lot of barriers to entry in terms of learning a new program. And so unless once you were out of school, you didn't have access to SAS, you didn't have access to Stata because of the cost. Whereas now R is open source, you can download it for free, and you can get a lot of assistance on GitHub, and you can work with all of these open data sets, and you can really stay on top of things and teach yourself a lot of new skills and learn what's sort of on the leading edge, what's the new thing that's happening. And so while I keep on top of what's, I sort of, when you're in the work environment, you have to still pay attention to what works within your work environment. It's always good to be mindful of what's the leading edge on the outside, what might be coming to affect your work environment, and what might be just affecting your profession in general. And it's much more available to you than it was, say, 10 years ago, to teach yourself and to get access to those software platforms.
The one thing I'd add is SQL. That's a really important thing to learn. A lot of times I've noticed people coming out of college don't know it for whatever reason. It's incredibly useful in industry, right? It's sort of known as the lingua franca of data. It's not difficult to learn. I mean, obviously it's hard to become a master at it, but you can certainly learn enough to get data out of it. If you don't know it, then you're dependent on other people to get the information that you need, and that's a real negative. So I would definitely encourage you to learn that, and there's abundant free resources to learn it if you don't learn it in school.
Thank you for answering that question. We have a question in the chat. Shushan, you mentioned that you are currently in your second year of graduate school. How did you go about in choosing grad school? In addition, this is a more general question for everyone. I just started getting into data science and I'm completing the data science certificate. If I'm going to go to grad school with only a couple of data science courses, how big of a gap in knowledge am I going to have? So that question is in the chat, alumni, if you want to have a look at that.
I think that's a really good question. So for choosing grad school, I just basically doing a lot of research on Google, just search like the top data science programs, and they will tell you definitely like, there are some rankings. Maybe it's not really the same results, but you can definitely tell what are the top tier schools in data science. And then just talk to like alums or some people before like going to grad school. Like when I'm making choices, like I just send messages on LinkedIn, talk to people who went to that program and asking about how is the instructors, what about the curriculum, and what about the like their career service, because it's pretty important for master's students. And how do you think about this program? And I've met some people who are really nice, and they are really willing to share their thoughts and talking about the advantage, and also being really frankly about the disadvantages about their school. So I think that's a really helpful for me to making choices after getting offers.
I really don't think I could answer the second one, only because data science didn't exist as a separate discipline when I was in graduate school. So I have no experience in what it would be like to go to school there. But I think that they kind of take you through a standard curriculum and learn. But I don't think that they assume, massive amounts of pre-knowledge from my limited familiarity with them. So if you've taken a few things, a certificate, I would like to think you'd be in good shape.
That would be my guess too. If grad school is anything, I graduated in 2008. 8. And if it's anything like it was, a lot of it's self-taught on the job. And you get a few classes, but usually your committee will have you take additional classes if you need them. And then some of the skills that you just teach yourself along the way. So I would definitely reach out to your advisors, reach out to people who've gone to the schools. If you can physically visit the school, I would highly recommend that. I remember that my ranking of grad schools completely changed after I did my interviews and talked to the students. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, and I feel like if you are taking a certificate in data science, you should be good to get a grad school in data science. Since I'm master in data science, for our curriculum, we have some really fundamental like probabilities, machine learning, and they also have like an introduction to data science for the first semester. So you can get a general idea about data science, even though you don't have too much knowledge about that before. And you can also just to get some optional classes to help yourself to build up your knowledge. I think that should be fine. And for data science, it's more like learning by yourself. It's not really like just taking classes because this industry is evolving all the time. You always need to learn new stuff.
Thank you for answering that. Another question is, where did you start looking for your jobs?
LinkedIn. This might be the most recent job that exists anymore. I know I've been in Madison. I'm in Madison right now. I don't know where everyone else is located, but I know a lot of people in the community, and so LinkedIn was a really useful tool to the individual that company and find out more about that company and see if it would be a good fit, if they could connect me up with the hiring manager so I could have a discussion with them about before going through like the recruiting gauntlet. That's also super useful.
I totally agree. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I totally agree. We post most of our jobs for Bayer on LinkedIn, and I know we've posted some data science ones recently, and people share them a lot. Also, we try to share positions on Twitter, although that tends to be a little more specific to my specialty. But those would be the two main things I would do, and then go to networking events. Because if you're applying for a job and someone at the company already knows you or has interacted with you, it is helpful if the hiring manager knows that, and they can kind of help you navigate the process. So I would definitely encourage people to network as much as possible.
Yeah, and another platform I found really helpful, especially for students at UW-Madison, is the Handshake, because a lot of recruiters who are targeting to like new grads or students in college, they would like to post like entry-level jobs on Handshake. So I found that's really helpful. And I did realize if you just apply through Handshake, you have a higher probability to get responded. So I would definitely recommend Handshake. And then LinkedIn or Twitter are also really helpful tools. And sometimes I just share some resources with friends around with me. Like if I found a job, I'll share it to my friends because I feel like that's probably her stuff. And then she will just get back to me if she found something fits me really well.
Thank you for answering that, alumni. Another question is, what is the recruitment timeline? Are there opportunities year-round or for a certain period of time? And along with that is, I have a lot of research experience in undergrad, and now I want to try and get a job, but I've never had an internship. How can I make up for that lack of experience?
One thing I would mention is I would consider contractor roles. So a lot of times at Bayer, we will hire someone on as a contractor for like a year or two. And then usually if it's a good experience, that person becomes a full-time employee after that. So I would say, especially if you don't have internship experience, look at the contractor positions. The other thing is we hire all year round. There's no, now I will say co-ops and internships come out at a certain time of year at Bayer, but the hiring is all year round. And the other thing I will mention to you is sometimes at larger companies, the hiring process is very slow. I wish I could tell you it wasn't, but it is. And so I just wanted to let you know, like, just be prepared that it might be a longer process, and you know, feel free to apply for different options so your eggs aren't in one basket.
So at the state of Wisconsin, obviously within the larger environment, a lot of the people that I work with are epidemiologists, and there's a wide variety of the people that I work with. So very few of us are data people, but there are a wide range of fellowships, national fellowships that are available where, and this will be, there can be public health fellowships, and I'm looking at right now, the CDC has the Public Health Informatics Fellowship Program. And I can see that the application period is open through December 1st of 2021. And so informatics, if you're not familiar with, is it's sort of the blending of information science and information technology. So it's really hard to explain. I've been an informaticist in past lives, but it's a combination of building data structures and supporting data structures. But that said, people who I've seen a lot of people come in through Division of Public Health with a public health fellowship or a CDC fellowship, spend their 2 years, end up with a job here, or then that is their stepping stone to a new career elsewhere. So if you're interested in, say, a public health career or a public service career, lots of fellowships exist, such as this one through the CDC. And those are, of course, those are paid. You know, of course, that's a big concern. You know, with so many being unpaid internships out there.
So in the chat, Laura just said, going off of what you just mentioned, Justin, I'm currently a global health major with a certificate in data sciences. What internship roles on the smaller state level or other organizations would you recommend me to look into? Unsure of what to look up when to apply for internships.
Gosh, trying to think if I can come up with some. There's the Public Health Accreditation Board. I don't know that that's. As I said, I think that the CDC is a good place to start. The PHIFP is the acronym for their program. I think that most of our fellowships will come through there. I will keep looking, and I'll see if I can come up with some of those names of the people that I've come across in our work environment to see what their fellowships are. I don't know that there are any that I would consider to be local, you know, at the state level, because the people that come to us with fellowships are usually at a national. The organization that's providing the fellowship is a national organization.
To go back to the prior question, one thing I would say is Zendesk, I think this week is doing university recruiting. So if you look at zendesk.com/jobs, I think you'll find the university sort of options are much more constrained than regular options are for employment. Jobs are open, all year until they're filled. Sometimes they pop up if they're like for a specific backfill, then they're looking to replace a particular individual. One thing I have noticed is that headcount is sort of allocated in Q1. And if hiring is slow, there's like a glut in Q4 that they want to try and fill before they might lose it in the next year. So it seems like things speed up a little bit and become a little bit more serious in early Q4 from what I've observed.
Thank you, Pitt. Justin, I think in regard to what you had said earlier, Laura says, sounds good. When you say fellowships, do you mean post-undergraduate jobs?
I think that they depend. The people that I've come across are typically they are post masters in the public health. There would either be they're often after a master's of public health, or if they're in informatics, it would be they might be continuing with their master's degree, but yes, I do believe that they're still within it's a postgraduate fellowship is I think primarily what we're looking at. And I think that what I'm seeing is that when I come across them, they're all the states are referencing the CDC public health fellowships. So I'm not aware of anything at a post undergrad level, but yes, the CDC internships or fellowships, I should say, from what I know, are typically postgraduate fellowships. I'm sorry, yes, postgraduate, yes.
Thank you for answering that. Another question is, I'm a first-year graduate student in data science and preparing to find a job in data science. I want to know what professional skills you think are most important in the resume. What kind of new graduates are you looking for? For example, internships or research experience, knowledge on coding or machine learning algorithm theories. What is most important?
Yeah, so I'll take a stab on that. So I was on the hiring committee when we were looking for data science entry employees in a broader program at Legacy Monsanto. So a couple of things I can tell you at Bayer, they want to see Python, R, Docker, AWS, or cloud experience, preferably AWS. Some knowledge of machine learning, although I don't know, and you might get asked some coding questions in your technical interview. It's not that they want you to write perfect code, it's that they want to see how you think through a problem and think critically, right? The other thing I would mention is definitely if you have any internship or research experience, highlight that in your CV and bring that up. I was on a hiring panel and it was odd because I got like 3 or 4 CVs that all described the same problem they used machine learning on. And I was like, wow, why are all these people working on like credit scores? And then I realized all these people were writing about a Coursera class they had taken. I got to tell you, that was like a red flag to me. So if you have something that's like personalized, emphasize that. And also if you have an experience that shows you worked well with a team and people with other specialties, that's a huge plus. So that's the type of thing I would emphasize.
I think those are really good recommendations or advice. The other thing I would say, I mentioned before, SQL is really useful to know. I would definitely encourage that. I think also just evidence that you have experience working with technologies. I mean, to kind of go back to the red flags, it's like if all of your experience is working with files that you get off of a website or something like that, like that's not real world. Like real world's never just given to you as files to do this problem. So experience working with Git, writing, or some knowledge of unit tests and why they're important in code is really important. It's just sort of like, and then working as part of a team. I think what Allison was saying is also a really good thing to highlight, because you are part of a team in a company. And so if you have abilities that you can demonstrate to work as part of a team to achieve a goal, how did you fit in with that? Can you speak to that? That's also really, really useful.
And maybe I forgot to mention, well, one thing is if you have experience with APIs, I would add that on your CV, because we do store a lot of our data via API. But also, I know at Bayer we do a technical interview, but actually we also do a behavioral interview that matters just as much as the technical. And that's more like, tell us about a time when you didn't hit the timeline and you had to, talk to the person who you were going to be late with and stuff like that. So I would think about if you can have little stories that ahead of time that shows how you handled like tough situations in the workplace, I think that's a real positive thing, because I didn't know about the behavioral interviews until I was in industry, and that's something that seems to be pretty different than academia.
So another question that just came into me, Allison, based on what you said about the behavioral interviews, how important is prep for interviews like that, where they ask for coding on spot? Are those interviews recorded? How can one prep for these interviews to be successful?
So we just started doing the technical interviews with questions. I think sometimes they'll send you the question ahead of time, the coding question, and then you can do it on your own. You're just asked not to have other people help you. If you have to do it in real time, usually they'll ask you, something like estimate the number of cell phones in the US. Now, there's no way you can know that, but they just want to see the logic that you use to try to get your estimate. And then for the behavioral interviews, I would just think ahead of time about the stories, like when was a time you worked with someone really well, and what did you learn from that, and what would you do ahead of time or do again in a next situation. And also talk to people that are in the company. If you already know, sometimes they can give you a heads up on what type of behavioral questions there'll be, or give you a sense of what the interview process will be like. Or talk to other recent hires in other similar companies. I think that really helps. And do a little research on the company or academic or public institution you want to work for. It looks really good if you've already know a little bit and you're not just, machine gunning your CV to every company without making any customization. So that would be my feedback on that.
Thank you, Allison, for answering that. Another question was, what is the difference between a data analyst, scientist, and a data engineer?
I can take a stab at it at Bayer. So data analyst is usually entry level at Bayer. Usually you are cleaning data. I think like the algorithm is pretty much known that you're going to do, and you're really just helping to scale it quickly. Data scientist, there is a science component to it. So you're usually developing a new algorithm. You're trying to come up with a new predictive model. Data engineer. So when I have an algorithm and I say, okay, I've run it successfully on a couple thousand samples, but now I need to run it on 1 million samples and I need it to run in a week. Then I work with a data engineer who stands up the cloud infrastructure for me. And then they really help me, they tell me like, hey, we want to use Airflow and this is where we want to parallelize the process and this is where we don't. So that the engineer is really more, how do we make it scale efficiently on the cloud? At least at Bayer, that's how we use those terms.
Yeah, at Zendesk, that generally tracks, I guess, the function that you were just talking about productionalizing an algorithm or a model. We call that machine learning engineering. Data engineering is sort of a more broad discipline, which is basically moving data from system to system. So it's ETL, frequently in the cloud, and that's sort of what that is. The big difference, I guess, I would say between data analysts and data scientists is frequently the capability of programming. A lot of data analysts don't have serious programming skills. That's a big differentiator. And also the modeling piece is not as frequent in data analysis. There's a lot more data analysts than there are data scientists, and they have a lot more interactions with the business, with stakeholders. And I think at least at Zendesk, do a lot more with data visualization, dashboarding, that sort of thing.
Thank you for answering that. A question that we got in the other group, the other chat, but was relevant for this one as well, was where do you see your industries going and how has COVID affected that? What does your day-to-day look like? And what is the current progression of job openings?
So one thing I think that's been really cool about COVID, so my job has been all virtual for the last 18 months, which I actually like more than I thought I would. And we're going to move to a hybrid model where people will go in maybe a few days a week and you can work at home the rest. But one thing that's really cool at Bayer, because we know that agriculture is moving to be much more of a digital science where we're collecting a lot of data in real time on the farms and we want to give recommendation back to the grower. And so you have a lot of data science jobs. And one thing the company has realized is that those jobs don't have to be in a specific place. So there's new initiatives called Hire the Best, where basically if you live near a Bayer site, which there are, hundreds across the globe, they'll work with you on where you're located. And so one thing I've enjoyed about the pandemic is I work with people in Brazil and Europe and California. And as long as you figure out the time zone, it's really no different than, Zooming or Teamsing with somebody who's in St. Louis, right? Which is where I am now. So I think that's been really positive. And I think that, and actually they're getting rid of everyone's desk at Bayer. We're just going to have lockers and co-working spaces 2 days a week, right? And so things are going to dramatically change the way people work. And it's going to be much more of this, you have a lot more freedom on where you work, but there's also probably more due diligence about you networking more intentionally. But yeah, I think it's really cool and really positive. And actually, I've really enjoyed it.
So as you can imagine, we had a lot of things going on in our office during COVID. Primarily my work involves linking, working with the Division of Medicaid Services along with my Division of Public Health, and along with pretty much all of my colleagues, we were redirected to other data tasks for well over a year. I've been virtually 100% back to my regular work now since probably the spring. So we have our dashboards built and there's nothing really more that we need to do beyond maintenance. But during that time, all of our regular work sort of got put on hold, and so we took that time to just reconsider and take a breath and look at it all and say, all right, what are we doing with this? What, is this the best way to approach this problem? And then and I think every division that has, the way that we're structured, and we're looking at, whether, all the various epidemiological surveillance areas sort of stopped and had to pause, and they're saying, okay, now that we're starting back up, do we want to keep doing it the way we were doing it, or do we want to just sort of start from scratch? But we've also had a great deal of turnover. I mean, top to bottom, there's just a whole load of new people, and I think that we've, especially at the top, have a ton of great new energy leadership that really is seeing the future in some really exciting new ways. And so, we, being a public entity, are still sort of limited by what we're allowed to do, both legally and financially. But I think that we are really trying to reimagine what we can do in terms of working across state agencies to share data, to work together, to really collaborate and sort of reinvent ourselves and not be so flat-footed, and sort of try and get out there and anticipate what we can do, instead of I mean, COVID is not, I'm not trying to say that we're trying to predict the next COVID, but we're trying to just sort of be more proactive in how we solve the larger problems in public health. When we're talking about social determinants of health, health equity, and really looking at things from a holistic perspective. And I think that from a top-down perspective, everybody is really getting on board with that. And we're trying to use data, we're trying to use all the tools at our disposal for that. And I think COVID was one of those reasons that gave us a pause to stop and say, okay, well, rather than just pick everything up, why don't we see what new tools are available, what new tools we can pull in, what tools we can drop, and how we can move forward. So it was sort of a great pause to reconsider everything. It's an opportunity to see what we can do better.
Thank you for answering that. So we have 1 minute left, but there was one question that came in that wasn't answered. So really quickly, I guess, what does ongoing learning look like for each of you?
I think I Google a lot of things. I try to volunteer for projects where I'm forced to learn a new skill. And then also at Bayer, what's nice is you have the opportunity, if you want, to move to positions. So I've just applied to a new position. And part of the reason I want to go there is because I see the people in that team and they have skill sets I don't have that I want to learn. And so I think that, the best way I found is to put yourself on projects that make yourself stretch and roles that give you development opportunities.
I likewise, I'm always trying to, I hate to say that, to solve problems when I'm coding, I rely on Google, but I like to see what other people are doing to solve problems. And usually, Stack Overflow is a good site that will be a forum for people sharing ideas and discussing, the best ways to solve problems. GitHub is a good place where people are sharing coding ideas. And so, I mean, I like to challenge myself with when coding to say, this is really messy code. There's got to be a better way to do it. And then invariably there is a better way to do it, right? And so you dig around, and sometimes I just want to. I'm curious. People are saying, if somebody's neighbors are arguing about, crime rate, this or that, and just say, well, so what's going on? And you dig around and find there's an API, and you can pull in, in that, and you say then you can pull it into R, and you can pull in the data yourself and just teach yourself, and answer the questions yourself. And every day is just sort of an opportunity to answer a question that you have, because the data are out there and the tools are available, and you can just figure out how to do it yourself. And then all of a sudden you have a new skill. So I guess be curious and, and find a way to do it.
I guess one thing I would add is just super briefly, blogs. I think Shushan mentioned those before. Blogs are really useful. Medium, there's a lot of, I think, practical stuff on Medium that I find useful there. And then also there's like a professional development budget at work. And so I have a subscription to O'Reilly. And so there's a lot of good stuff there, videos and just obviously tons of technical books and things like that I also have found useful in the past.
Yeah, just for me, it's being open-minded, reading blog posts, and I attend Pete's Big Data Medicine before, so I think that's a really cool experience. Also, just attending some events to learn some new technologies. Just, yeah, that's what I did.